Hello and welcome to the new episode of the Full Funnel podcast. So today is the episode 60 and my new guest is Tara Horstmeyer. She is a founder of Happy Words. But what makes Tara unique for me at least, aside from content writing, she has a fantastic experience in sales, which is not common for lots of content marketers, for content creators. And she was also nominated as LinkedIn Top 100 Sales Stars. So today we are going to chat how to maximize the success of demand generation and thought leadership programs on LinkedIn. Tara did a fantastic job because she joined the game a year ago. So she had a clean profile. I believe not that many connections. Nobody knew her, but voila, now she has a solid personal brand. She has some great clients, and we are going to chat about her journey, her experience, and sharing what is really relevant to everybody nowadays, how to create the content that can grab the attention of your target accounts, that can create the demand for your products or for your services, and that can emphasize your expertise. So Tara, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I love seeing a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces. So I love getting to know new people as much as I love connecting with people who I've already had a conversation with. So this is so fun for me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I believe we'll have a really great conversation today. And you guys, feel free to ask your questions in a Zoom chat, or if you'd like to join the discussion, just turn on your camera, as I said, and join the conversation. I suggest to kick it off with a quick rapid fire chat. So I will ask you 3 questions, and you need to answer with the first things that will come up to your mind.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So what are the top 3 learnings you have about doing thought leadership on LinkedIn?
Oh gosh. So I would say number 1 is that everybody's a thought leader. Like every single person has it in them. So that's the number 1 thing. Is I used to think thought leadership was like, and a lot of people still, and I kind of still cringe at that title some, because I'm like, I want to be an action leader. Morgan Ingram says that a lot. I want to be a doer. But the cool thing is truly being a thought leader. I know now it's really just moving your thoughts to the words that you use into paper. And that's what it means. So when you think about it, the barrier of entry is low. In fact, I don't even believe it exists beyond outside, like it only exists inside of you. So I have learned that being a thought leader, so to speak, is available to everyone, but you have to lead with your thoughts. You actually have to get your thinking. Nobody can read your mind. They can only read the words that you write and that you speak. So move from inside to outside, and you are a thought leader, but more importantly, you're now an action leader.
And the next question is, what are the top 3 most common beliefs that everybody talks about, but these things actually don't work?
Oh gosh. Well, I don't know about don't work. That's kind of a strong statement. For me, I only have the experience that I have. So it's hard to say things do or don't work. Just what works for me is I'm a big believer in quality over quantity. So a lot of people, and I may get to be that person sometime, push out tons and tons and tons of content. And that's great. And that's fine. For me, I prefer to stick more, and I'm going to write about the things that I'm experienced in and that I do know, but that also takes some time. I'm not a quick, bust it out on my phone in 3 seconds. But I find value in that because that's where my ideas start. They start in those quick things. So I think, finding a framework works for you. So I think that's a combination of 2 things, that you're consistent is not, I believe in sustainability in the long run. So if that means, hey, I'm going to post 5 times a week, then awesome. If it means I'm going to post 3 times, great. If it means I'm going to post twice every day because that keeps me in a rhythm, fantastic. So I definitely believe there's not a one size fits all, but there are absolutely, formulas that work and that you should follow and that you should at least attempt to try to see what works for you. So I think that's 2. The other thing is, gosh, it's hard. What's something that everybody says works, but that doesn't? I mean, I think the easy one is you know, trying to pitch people in DMs and connect with them really quickly. And I know not everybody says it doesn't work, but somebody's saying it does work because people still do it all the time. So that does not work in the sense of how LinkedIn and how really building a brand operates. That's how I think you can get noticed, and you can get noticed sometimes for the wrong reasons. So keeping your connections and keeping your conversations quality. And then of course you can move into, you know, more sales conversation as you go.
I believe, you know, just extending your thought on how the communications is going on LinkedIn. Lots of people, you know, they try to hack the system, they try to hack the platform, and they tend to think about the community, about people on LinkedIn as just the leads, the contacts, the numbers, whatever we'll call it. So they tend to think, okay, I will hack, you know, the system by saying, hey, Tara, I noticed that you have had an experience in sales. Let's connect. So you accept the connection, and voila. By the way, are you interested in this stuff? Let's have a quick call. So they hack the system, so you accept the connection request, and then they start pitching. Unfortunately, the truth is that business moved to human. So we need to treat people the same way as we want to be treated by others. So that's the key point here. And another question, and the last one for the rapid fire chat. So what are the 3 things that you would do differently nowadays if you were starting out right now?
I don't know if I do anything different, honestly, than you know, I did when I started. Probably it would be 2 years this fall. My posting really began a year ago, and that is to do exactly, I think, what I did, but I would shorten the time frame. I spent way too much time kind of building up. And that is connect offline. So I learned really quickly by watching others, by seeing what they're doing, seeing who they are, and just really kind of basically being like that lurker, but in a good way. Before I connected, before I went out. So I would, number one, I would connect really quickly with every single person, and we can dive into this as we go, but everybody who's just interesting to you. They don't have to be in your target market. You don't have to want to sell them, but they're just interesting to you. You can find some kind of value. I would send them a DM and tell them that, you know, again, not trying to look to gain anything, but actually give them your respect, give them your time, give them your compliments. Cause I mean, gosh, this world is filled with negative stuff. So give them some positivity. And then I would start commenting ASAP just to learn your voice before you ever put out a post or, you know, try to do anything that may be even more of a stretch. Is just spend time giving. But what you're actually doing is you're learning, and you're learning through doing, which is, for me, the best way to learn is experiential hands-on learning. So that's what I would do. I would just do it all like immediately, instead of kind of taking, you know, several months like I did of kind of testing the water, you know, being afraid to put my toe in the water. I would do that. And then as you go, just start putting out your own original content as you go.
So let's move to our key point of today's chat. Right. You have your 12 CS framework, what it stands for.
Oh, wow. Okay. So here is what it is. So there's a lot of C's in there. And if anybody does follow me, you probably read this a few weeks ago, but like me, forget, you know, everything the second I read it sometimes. So really what they stand for is what I have learned in the past year. Cause like I said, my journey started out really being on the sidelines, which again, it worked for me. I encourage it. I was learning from, you know, our CEO and friend Casey Graham and what he was doing and learning. That really inspired me, but it still took me time to say, okay, I'm ready to put myself out here and my thoughts and my experiences and all of that. But the cool thing is that I learned all of these different pillars along the way. And so it's a guide, but it's also, I think, an inspiration for everybody about what you gain when you start to give of yourself and of your words on LinkedIn. So the first one is cultivate. And so if you think about a farmer, if you think about somebody who's working hard to make something grow, you're a cultivator. And that really is like the relational side. And that's what I talked about, like finding the people who are potentially ahead of you, potentially beside you, and then maybe even the people that are, I wouldn't say like behind you, but younger than you that you can mentor and guide, but also who offer a fresh perspective. So I would find those 3 buckets of people and cultivate relationships with them. And that does not mean, obviously, I need to have an hour-long coffee, or I need to do all of this, even if it's just a quick sharing of ideas on LinkedIn. So cultivate your, relationships with leaders, with mentors, with peers. Just start to build that, last C that I'll get to. But the next one is curate. So this is a big thing for me now. And as you grow, is making sure your feed is going to start to get, I don't want to say cluttered, but that's probably it. And it's not just you don't only obviously see your connections, you see people who your connections comment on, and that is super, important. But I would also say curate the content that motivates you, that teaches you, that inspires you. And if someone that you're connected with isn't doing that, I think it's okay to say, you know what, this connection isn't serving me. Maybe not in a personal sense, but just in a feed sense. So cultivate your feed to where it really helps you move forward from day one. The next one's connect. So that's getting real, getting to the real of who you are, and to the people behind that, and to using real words, real experiences, real instance. So that is how you actually, that's the shortest way to connect with someone, is not through perfection, but it's actually through our imperfection and our human nature. Again, not that you need to like sound the alarm at, oh gosh, I screwed this up today every single day, but put it together, post to your fails, get real. I also encourage other people to do that, to share their real life. Okay, the next one, converse. Strike up conversations. Again, this is where I love to do it both in the comments, but also in the DMs. Reach out to somebody, not trying to get anything, but really just saying, hey, I want to have a conversation here, because nobody wants to be talked at. We want to be talked with. Okay, next, create. So this is where you move from being a consumer to truly being a creator, is when you start to put words around your thoughts. And again, that can be through the next one, number 6, commenting. But it really is a way for you to get your thoughts out of your head and onto paper. And the more you have those creating moments, the more you're just going to start flexing that muscle. And the funny thing is, you actually become more creative when you do, even if you're some of our more logical minded, friends who I love to just kind of like learn from their logic. So the next one I mentioned was comment. And this to me is like the hill I live, breathe, and die on. Is I love comments. I love them more than I love posting. I love giving comments. I love commenting on comments. Like, I just love the conversations, because again, it's one thing to kind of stay in just the vacuum of my own head, but it's another thing when somebody's put themselves out there, whether it's a comment on my post, on their post, and I really want to say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, and here's a conversation that can have, or here's maybe another point to add, or here's how I can back up what you're saying. So even on the days I don't post, I will always you'll see me fluttering about in comments, because I love them. I think they're super important, and people forget to. So don't forget, make sure you comment. Next, captivate. So we live in a society that is extremely flooded. We all know, pick up your phone. You're going to have 50 notifications. You're going to have texts from your spouse or your partner. Maybe it's you got to pick up your kid from school, all the things that distract us. And it's no different with our content. It is absolutely no different. So using those lines, and I know Justin Welsh, who I'm a huge fan of, definitely go follow him, use this material, all the things. But use those few lines too, to just really captivate your audience, to say, hey, why should you care? Why should you read that? Use your words to do that. And not only that, you're going to learn that, hey, what works and what actually resonates and what doesn't, so, and that's okay. It's all good. There is no bad. It's all good. The next one, the next C, number 8, I know we're plugging through them here. It's a lot, but is capture. So this is something, guys, that I learned a little bit later. I wish I had done this much sooner, but it's to really make sure that you're keeping a repository of not only all your posts, but all your comments. Because let me tell you, my best thoughts are not in my posts. They are always in my comments. And I forget like what I commented on someone else's something, and then I have to go back and search, and and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was such a good idea. And I know people say this all the time. Like, trust me, I know, I've been hearing for months and months, make a repository, capture all of your comments, screenshots, do whatever, find a system. But I'm telling you, do it, because I had to kind of backtrack and go and make a repository of all my stuff. And it was such a pain in the butt. So learn from me, do it, because not only will that, make things easier, but you'll also start to see themes, which is super important in your own comment and in your response. And that will make creating content as you go way easier. And people say it, but do it. Learn from me.
But quite
So,
often, you know, what you can do is that you can easily repurpose, you know, your comments into new posts.
yes.
Quite often you can just write a new post as a comment, and that's it. Then you can copy paste what I'm doing. So whenever I have, like, let's say I'm noticing some insightful posts, some interesting conversation, so I try to add as much value as I can, you know, and then I save this content. I have let's say, as you said, I have a standalone node in Evernote where I store all these comments, and then I, like, let's say I add a task on my to-do list just to create content on, basically, by leveraging this comment, and that's it. And now you have all the posts. And again, I made this mistake, and it took me lots of time then to collect all the posts that me and my co-founder Vlad, that we were sharing. Because the truth is, you know, when you are talking about multiple topics, you have lots of things, you have lots of ideas, lots of insights that you can share. And why not repurposing all this, you know, posts into a new article? What we are doing right now, so we are collecting all of these insights and publishing this as a guest post on Revenue Genius website. You know, you have lots of ways how you can repurpose this. We are creating webinars based on this stuff, and that's it. This is how you can, you know, kick off your content strategy. So comments, comments could be, let's say, the accelerator here. So love this.
Absolutely. And it's also a great tester too, because you'll see as people like your comment, or, you know, maybe comment on your comment, that it's like, okay, let me take note of that. And what's the idea and what's the underlying theme? And maybe you can even take that idea and turn it into 4 posts. You never know. So the biggest thing though, is that you're not going to remember, you're not going to remember to do it. Trust me, do it. So do it in the moment as much as you can. Even if it's screenshot, you know, tags, something, some idea. I know some people, I read somewhere, I don't even know who, I think puts like tags in Slack and does different things to themselves. So there's lots. Yes. Swipely. Arthur just mentioned Swipely. Great guy. But also there's so many tools out there that it's literally not, it's just not something we should be doing. So make it easy, find what works for you, and capture all of your content in one place. So the next C is challenge. So this is something that, me being more of a typically not a challenger personality, well, I should say, it depends on the setting. But I'm not somebody out there looking for a challenge. Like, I'm just, you know, I'm kind of just being me, but I have to challenge myself. So my number one strengths finder, I joke about a lot, is actually competition. And some people are surprised when they know me really well, but I'm like, I compete against myself every single day. And so the same thing is true for my content. And so I had to challenge myself, you know, and I still do, especially when I'm also a fan of like taking vacations and unplugging. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to challenge myself to jump back in, to make sure that I'm not doing something that not doing something that is actually really beneficial to me. And especially when you start, it's challenging yourself, challenging your ideas, challenging what you think works, is going to work, and what isn't going to work. So just having that challenge, that experimenter that most marketers and salespeople have, but really putting that towards your content, and challenge your own opinions. You know, what I thought about XYZ topic a year ago does not mean I think about it the same way now. In fact, it shouldn't. We should grow. We should change what we think and believe. So, you know, challenge your own notion of what you think works, and also challenge your own thoughts and your own thought process, and put those out there. And also, that's a great post to say, hey, I used to think this way, but I realize after this, think this way, because you know what, it's human and nobody wants to talk about it. So those are really fun things I love to think about and challenge. So the next one is one of my favorites. Number 10 is care. So I am a huge believer in actually giving a crap about people, which people say that they are, and it's true. And we all have our moments, you know, but really caring about others, I think, is the foundation of LinkedIn. I believe that's why this platform was started. Yes, for job seekers, but also that it could be a place where you can show like, hey, I actually care about somebody else's growth. I care about their point of view. I care about what they say. I care about their uniqueness. Because if we are all in an echo chamber, that's not giving anybody any kind of care at all. So I really think caring about just bringing it in of like, when I engage on LinkedIn and when I, commit to creating content, but really you're not just creating content. LinkedIn is not a blog post repository site. It is a social media connection site where we get to care about other people. We get to challenge other people. We get to challenge ourselves. But most importantly, we get to truly show up in a way that shows like, hey, I actually care about this other person and their point of view. And so I'm going to add to it. I'm going to give my thoughts and, we're going to really care about other people. So that's a big thing for me. But next one, in kind of the heart of talking about challenge a little bit is change and change things up. I am totally a fan of like, hey, if I'm posting on, maybe I've got a routine where I post on certain days, so I'm going to change them up next week. Maybe, maybe I can post something a little bit later in the day, or I can post something else that might resonate or a different topic. Just don't be afraid to change, and don't be afraid not only for your point of view to change, but change if you're not enjoying this. This is another big thing is I see people, or I talk to people offline, or, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's such a drag. Like it's so hard and it's like, it's weighing me down. And I'm like, okay, what needs to change? Because something needs to change here. And it could be, you're posting about something that you honestly don't care about. Like maybe you cared about it a year ago, and maybe I'm like, my job has changed so much in the last year that if I was still posting about stuff I don't have day-to-day interaction, I would lose steam. And again, I am all about sustainability. So doing something that you're passionate about, writing about something that that you care about, that actually helps others. And if you're not doing that, that can be a big cause of drain. So change it up if you're not. And then the last one is probably my favorite. So if you do nothing else, take the last C, maximize it. And that is community, y'all. I could talk about this for 3 hours, but LinkedIn is a community. Like it really is. You think it's one thing. You think it's a job board. You may think it's a place where I can become this super famous thought leader and I can, impact and inspire and motivate the world. And yes, to all of that. Yes, sure. But at its heart, it is people connecting with people. We know this in our lives. And I think sometimes it's in me, I'm always like, I talk from the same side of the table, everyone. We forget that it is truly a community of people who are here to get better, to do better, but ultimately to be better. And when we can do that together, that is when LinkedIn becomes so much bigger than just a place for me to post and ghost and drop my thoughts and go. It's a place where I can actually cultivate relationships that extend beyond just the LinkedIn posts, that actually can move offline into the real world, into business relationships, into partnerships, because I know that's what we talk about, but also into friendships. Some of the best friends that I have in my day-to-day life now have resulted from the community that I've been lucky enough to be a part of on LinkedIn. So if you take these 12 things, I know there's a lot, and I'll definitely be writing more about it, and you put them together, I truly feel like you will find your place, you'll find your voice, but most importantly, you will find your people. And when you show up for those people, they're going to show up for you.
And just probably it would be a nice case study I want to share that probably will emphasize everything that you have said. A story how I met my co-founder Vlad. So it's just a really nice example of this framework. So I was invited to give a workshop in Valencia in Spain, and Vlad lives in Valencia. I wasn't connected to him, so I made an announcement on my LinkedIn profile, and I said, like, guys who will be in Spain that day or who can come, just come up. And somebody from his network engaged with that post. So he saw that post, he signed up for the workshop, he came. So after the workshop, he asked some nice questions. And after the workshop, we got some sangria in a in a restaurant, so we chatted a lot about different things, all related to B2B marketing, and voila, then we cultivated that relationship, engaged in in some projects together, and now we're running our fullfunnel.io company. And if we'll just take a look on all the principles that you have shared with us, I believe that's just a nice explanation how the ecosystem might work. And one word about the community, one point about the community. Look, lots of folks as well came to this webinar just from our LinkedIn announcements. And now we have, so how many people do we have? So we have 30 people now online, and now we have our micro community of people that are caring about LinkedIn content, that are caring about, let's say, demand generation and right principles, community building, caring about your network, building these relationships. And this is our micro community. I believe most of us are well connected on LinkedIn, and that's the point. And this always leads to fruitful relationship, to some partnerships, etc. So quick question for you guys: how did you like that framework? Let us know in the comments. I'm curious to hear your feedback. And while you are sharing your feedback, I would like to ask you one question. Lots of people who think about LinkedIn demand generation, or let's say thought leadership or content creation, doesn't matter how we'll call it, they have one question: how to create the content that will resonate with my target audience, and how to find these ideas that will resonate with my target market fast. So what are your thoughts on it?
Oh yeah. So number one, the only way to do that, honestly, is to test. Like this is a marketer and salesperson's probably like check the box on that one. We've all done it, but I wish that there was like, hey, there is a magic formula and a magic bullet, but it really is to test. But you're going to do it in the same way, honestly, that everybody here already tests things. The same thing is true for your content. So of course you want to shorten that span. So what I do typically is I find out, okay, number one, these are assuming that you know who your target audience is. I reach out, I let them know like, hey, I don't say, hey, you're my target, but like what resonated with you in that, so I talk a lot. Like if somebody just says, hey, great post or something, I always just try to dig deeper. Okay, what about it? Which number? What resonated? And yes, I care about their response, but I'm also testing. I'm saying like, okay, where are the themes here? What actually helps? What can move the needle a little bit closer to what is actually resonating in this post? Is it question number 3 I ask? Is it point number 4? So always being curious about your audience and knowing and asking those questions, especially when you start posting. The other biggest, just to me, almost no brainer. And considering I come from the SDR world, all of my sales development people are like, yes to this, is I love checking out profiles of people who've responded or who I know, hey, I'd love to work with that person one day, and go through their activity. This is something that people do. They're like, okay, I know that maybe they post, maybe they don't. A lot of people comment, even if you never see a post. If they're in your target market, make sure you're seeing their profile, you're going to their activity, but don't stop there. Most people stop there. See who they're connected with, but also see the language that they are using in their replies and in their comments, not just to you, but to other people. So I always see, okay, what are they commenting on? Who are they connected with? And what is driving someone who typically doesn't post actually go and engage? And then what are the language that they're doing? Are they more in the thinking side of their brain? Are they replying very bullet point logically? Are they in the feeling? Hey, that made me feel a certain way. Are they speaking the language of emotion? So pay very close attention to your prospects and the language that they're using. And that will help you curate content that acts as a magnet. But as far as guaranteeing that they'll see it, there is honestly no way to guarantee, even though they'll see it. I'm telling you, it's like you see those views and it's like, oh, that's not as many comments. But what you can really do is, again, think like they think. Get in their brain, put content out that isn't just a checklist of things to do, that it's like, okay, my target audience is, let's say, an ABM marketer. Okay, well, what do ABM marketers, what do they need to know? What do they like to know? What you're actually doing is you are starting your post from the guide of a helper or an expert and something that they need to know, but don't stop there. Truly start to tap into the emotions. Like, this is one thing that I see a lot of people, including me, I like to do both, is just kind of say, okay, here's 5 tactics and done. And that those are important. They're so important.
Same here.
But yeah, and I mean, we need them and I need them. And I am the same way. I am like, but it's also good to like warm them up. So get some of hit the inspiration before you hit the information. And so that's one thing that can not only inform and guide and help your prospects, but pull them into who you are. Case in point, if I can tell a quick story, I was on a call with a potential client yesterday, and he gave me probably the best feedback, so to speak, or the best, I don't even want to say compliment, probably compliment ever, is we went from 30 minutes of him meeting to sending a proposal. That doesn't happen all the time in sales. I know, trust me, I know. But what he said really resonated with me. And he's like, after watching you for so long, I feel like I know you. I feel like I already trust you. And so our content actually serves to shrink the span, personal brands, of that know, like, and trust. And so I was able to say, okay, I feel like I'm just having coffee with a friend now. And I'm able to just give him how I can help him, how we could be a great partnership, to the point where he's like, how can you help me do this? You know, because I want to do the same thing where I'm going from just putting out content to helping people know me, like me, and trust me, and just doing just kind of hitting one side of what pulls people in. You're going to leave a whole other side of demand gen that I think people forget, which is basically being magnetic. And that is pulling people in, not just to what you do, but into who you are. And so they're going to be way more likely to let you in to not just to what they do, but to who they are. And that is what shrinks time and space with sales specifically, and with acquiring clients and helping them love just not your brand or your content, but also you, in a sense.
You know, when I was writing my book about my LinkedIn journey, so I kicked it off with one sentence, that companies are not buying from companies. This is a thing that I learned the hard way, you know, for being 15 years in B2B marketing and sales. Companies are not buying from companies, but people are buying from people they know, like, and trust. That's the key point, you know. And I know lots of marketers and SDRs who are asking the question, you know, is there any, let's say, a silver bullet, you know, is there any kind of post that I can post that could be case study or tactic or process framework that will, you know, immediately create the demand? The truth is that there are no silver bullets, unfortunately. It's a consistent process. And it was a fantastic case study, I believe, you have described. So it takes time until people will notice you. Then they will start learn more about you, about your services, about your frameworks. And believe me, this is how the demand is created. So the more they learn about you, the more content they are consuming, the more trust they have, the more they treat you as a trusted advisor. So they're reaching out to you and ask for help. And you don't need to prove that you know that you is a great vendor or you have a fantastic product, but you are coming out as an advisor that advises the best solution for this specific person. And I believe that's the goal of demand generation. That's the goal, not finding some hacks, you know, some tactics that can, because maybe somebody knows these tactics. I unfortunately,
they're billionaire.
Yeah,
if they are, they're yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not me, so I don't know them. Okay, perfect. So let's move forward. Another question I want to ask you. So we spoke about the importance of consistency, about the conversations, comments, valuable content. So you described a brilliant process how to, let's say, resonate with your target market. And we also described how the demand is created. But my question is, let's pretend the company is starting out and they don't have a network, they don't have an audience. And basically they won't have these conversations. So how to stimulate the engagement with the content? And the second probably part of this question, how to make sure that your target accounts will see your content?
Yeah, so I think you've hit there. The biggest thing is engagement, and people think engagement and they think, oh gosh, numbers, likes, all of that. And those are great. Like, you want to be seen, sure, okay. Like, nobody wants to just be in a bubble over there. But the biggest thing that people forget is there's so much that goes with having conversations, and being accessible and engaging. And when I use the term engagement, I'm talking about conversations. I'm talking about comments. And that's why I really get heavy on this, because I want to always be a person, not just as seen as, but actually does. And so as you are starting out, that's why it is so important to comment, reply to comments, be engaging. Amy Volas does this better than anyone I've ever met in my life. Like, her posts and how she engages people in the comments to keep those conversations going. It does so much, again, to shrink that space and time, to show people that she cares, that she shows up. But if I'm just starting out, that is where I would live and breathe, is asking insightful questions, leaving insightful comments, and really engaging in a conversation as much as you can with the people that you care about, that you want to. This doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I need to engage with every single post that pops up on my feed. No, be strategic about it, because there's only so much time that you have. But as you're starting out and you do have more time, be choosy in who you follow and who you curate and who you comment and who you engage with. And so when you do put out content, there's no forcing who's going to comment and engage with your material. They'll probably see it though, but there is a much more likelihood that they are going to engage, or they are going to at least stop and read it, because at the end of the day, visibility trumps invisibility, no matter what platform. I don't care if you only have 10 followers and connections, you are far ahead of somebody who has no LinkedIn presence, of me a year and a half ago, with like nothing, So really remember that it's all about having those conversations, but it's social and reciprocation. And then, having them see that content. Again, there are things that you can do. You can tag people. Like, there's lots of, ways to do that. I don't typically, not because, I don't believe in it. I think it's fine. But unless I'm actually given, there's a reason for me to do some of those things, like a very specific gratitude, want to call them all of that, then I just prefer to say, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this consistently. And over time, visibility is going to trump invisibility every second of every day. And when you're doing all of the other things, it's not just about the content you put out. When you're doing those other things to build up who you are and to put that out, then the visibility will come, the people will come, as long as you are connecting first and putting yourself out there on your end, because that's all you can control. You cannot control who's inboxing you or who's DMing you, but you can put out really great content. You can engage.
And one of the biggest pain points or challenges I'm seeing, especially in a B2B space, I'm talking obviously about my market. So one of these key challenges is that companies don't have a right skill set for content creation. And this is probably what is preventing them from sharing the content. And the question is, considering your experience, how would you recommend to find a good copywriter or content creator that can do a host writing for you, considering that you don't have the skill set and you won't be able to evaluate whether the content that is created by that person is good or not? So what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so it's such an interesting concept and topic, and one that, obviously I love. It's what I do, but I'll just back it up and say, number one, when it comes to starting fresh and starting new, especially when you're thinking as a company, there is so much great content that's out and that's coming out on just employee advocacy. A lot of people here know that I worked for Gravy, and if there could be a case study and someone who really did this well, go connect with Casey Graham if you don't already. He really led the charge, and but he is a content creator. Like that is him to the core. He is incredible. He is a great writer. I've learned so much from him. But when he really went kind of ahead of me, and then as a whole, we started to just get more traction for Gravy because he helped. All of his content was very helpful, and it truly from a heart of wanting to help. And then so I approached my content again from that same heart as the SDR manager of truly wanting to help and give my expertise. So all of that helps bring a spotlight to your company, whether you're a team of 2 or 200. You can more voices. Somebody put it really great. If I know one person, I know them. If I know multiple people at their company, I know the company. And so that is really a great way, I think, to look at it from the just rallying troops around your brand and using personal brands to leverage your company's voice. So that's one side. The other side is if you don't have a Casey Graham, as your CEO, and you don't have someone who has those skills necessarily, or it's not even typically a problem of skill, it's 99% a problem of time. They don't have time to prioritize this on, but they know it's needed and they know it's necessary. So if you are looking for help in this area, there's so many great people who can help. There's typically 2 sides of working with a ghostwriter and an editor, which is really my professional background, and a coach. It is having someone that you can bounce ideas off. So making sure that whoever you partner with is someone who can, like, and trust, because they're going to get a key insight into your brain and into your thinking. Obviously has communication skills, but more importantly, can be a partner for you and an extension of your voice, and can do all of those 12 C's, but again, challenge and help you get better at either writing content yourself as more of a coach, and can say, hey, we're going to spend 30 minutes or 60 minutes one time a month, have a call. And it really does is it helps you hone in on all kinds of things of like, okay, what am I passionate about? What are the topics I want to cover? And if anything, forcing you into that 1 hour window does worlds of good. And then I'll have people work with me either like, hey, I just need help cleaning up a post. I need help. What do you see? Where are the gaps? So that really can help for a lot of people who have the time and who have the desire, but just need an extra pair of eyes. Where I also work is, again, with busy executives who have the will, who maybe don't have the skill. And so that's when you just really have to be like, okay, I see this as a priority. You have to see it as a priority. It's like anything else in marketing. You have to believe in the power of it, which there is so much power of putting your voice out, but also trusting someone who is going to help you create your thoughts, curate your thoughts, and do it in a way that is authentic and genuine, and that you can go back and forth with. So it's really like, I'm not just standing in and saying, here's a bunch of copy, go hit send. It's very much a partnership. So when you're looking to find someone to write with you and for you, make sure that they check all the boxes, and that you can value align, so that they really are an extension of you, not a replacement of you.
That's brilliant. And the final, let's say, summary, that's fantastic. I love it. So they're not going to be your replacement, but they're team extension. That's fantastic. And before we'll move to the Q&A session, so guys, feel free to prepare your questions and jump in a moment. I will make a quick announcement as Tara is rolling out a new website. And depending if you are listening to the recording, if you are watching this on YouTube or listening to this podcast on Spotify, you'll find a link to a new website in the podcast description. And for you guys who are online with us right now, I will send you the link probably in a couple of days when Tara will ping me that the website is ready. So I will send some great resources. So stay tuned. And meanwhile, Kevin, feel free to join the discussion. So just switch on your camera and yeah, feel free to ask your question.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Hey, Kevin. This is so fun.
Yeah, I thought I should just dive in. My question is, how do you integrate SEO or analytics in your content? Yeah, basically that's kind of the question.
Well, I think you and I probably have the same answer, is definitely get Shield. I know that I think there are some other products coming to market. I know I've kind of heard a few of them, but that the first and gold star of analytics. Now, that's one thing. Having a platform that can track your metrics, can inform you again, and it's like anything else, using data. And actually, I actually wrote about that today, as using that to either, prove what you already believe, your gut. So I'm a big like, oh, I think this, but then I look at the data and I'm like, oh, wow, actually, that's not what I thought. So using that to inform, again, just depending on what you want, because you could have a well-performing post, as in the sense of it got X amount of likes, X amount of content or of comments. But you could have another post that's like, oh gosh, I actually only got this amount of likes and comments, but 5 of my prospects commented on this, or I got 7 DMs, like stuff that, Shield or those analytics aren't going to see. So I think it's important to use data as an information, but then also combine it with real world. What are you getting from your content that serves your purpose specifically? And then putting those together is, yes, that is the gold standard I think most content creators use for tracking what is just depending on the result that they desire. So that's my answer. What do you think, Andre?
Yes, that absolutely makes sense for me. Absolutely makes sense. You'd like to ask something else, Kevin?
No, I think that's fine. I mean, it pretty much. I mean, analytics and that is it's really there to guide you, to give you feedback, and just kind of help you refine your content based on what you're seeing. But that's it.
Good question.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. There is one more question coming from Nire. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name incorrectly. So how do you suggest connecting with CIOs or CXOs from junior level sales oriented profiles? Or do you suggest we should use a similar level profile to connect with those decision makers on LinkedIn?
Whew, that's a great question. So I'll put on my SDR hat here for a second. So number one, I don't think, again, I'm not a CIO or CXO. If someone has like, when I was a manager, an SDR manager, and someone had sales development rep at blah, 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 it was in my best interest always to connect, because I loved getting prospects. I would learn all the time. Like, hey, that actually really caught my attention. That didn't. Now, they were all junior level, but I will say I would not fake a profile or say only, C level or VP level or director level and beyond can connect with someone. The point is value. It is way less to do with your title and way more to do with the value you can offer that person. So before you even reach out to connect, are you commenting on their posts if they have any? Are you seeking to offer any kind of value with that company? Are you connecting maybe with a peer at that company who can bridge a gap between you and the CIO or the CXO? So I think it's really reframing your hesitation. I don't think that you should ever in an SDR seat or in a junior level, in any level sales, feel like I'm less than someone ahead of me. It's more, how can I offer value to that person? And what are things I can do before the connection even takes place that offers value, so that when your name pops up, you will be familiar, or like I said, hit the peer level first, develop a relationship there, and then go up from there. And then you can even potentially say, hey, I spoke with, XYZ at this company and would love to connect because she said you're amazing, things like that. So hopefully that helps. I get it. I've been in this SDR world, and, some people will ignore those requests and just move on. But I don't think that changing, or saying that you have to be a director level and above or any other, profile in order to connect with a C-level, that's not going to be honestly a I don't know, realistic answer for any of us. So yeah, hopefully just offer value and see what happens.
I will extend your thoughts, on this. It totally makes sense to have a peers connection. But the question is, let's say, if you have CIO at your company, and this person will connect with another CIO from, let's say, from your target account, will they be able to add the value to the conversation, or they will just pitch? That's the story. We don't need to send connection requests just for the sake of for connecting with these people. We need to think how we are going to build that relationship and how we are going to find if there is any opportunity, if we can deliver something, if there is a gap between our services and their needs. That's the key point, because if answer is no, then it makes no sense to follow the peers, let's say peers level connection strategy. In this case, you can connect with these people, but let's say then you need to one thing that you should keep in mind, your profile should be oriented to these people. So your content, your copy on your LinkedIn profile, let's say your brand message should be oriented towards these people. It should be aligned with their needs. What Tara was sharing in the beginning. So you need to analyze what they're interested in, what topics matter to them, you know, what they want to hear about. That's the key point. And in this case, you know, there is one thing that as well I learned. I spent 5 years in sales as well before switching to marketing. One funny thing that I learned, there are, let's say, all SDRs are divided into two groups, yet another SDR or a trusted advisor. And if you are just reaching out, if you have your profile is looking spammy, you know, you don't have anything, you have no content, you know, your copy is all about, well, man, accept my connection request, I'm going to pitch you, then definitely this strategy is doomed. But if your profile is oriented, if you are doing this thought leadership, and it's not about having 100,000 followers or having 100 likes, you know, under each of your posts. It's all about the quality of the content, quality of the thoughts you are sharing. And for these people, this is how you can resonate with them. And there is nothing wrong that you are just an SDR, BDM, account executive, or whatever, and you are connecting with C+ people. Just believe me, you can be positioned either as, let's say, yet another sales rep or trusted advisor, and it's up to you to which group you want to belong to. Hope it makes sense.
Yeah, that was so good. do what Andre says. I totally agree. And I also think positioning when you do get in, as to what you can learn from that person. You know, I know sitting here is when I was in the SDR management, I mean, some of my best connections were actually SDRs who would reach out to me, not trying to pitch, just being like, hey, I want to be in your shoes one day, you know, or I want to learn from you. And like, yes, I knew they were going to, you know, also offer their service at some point, but that really resonated with me of like, again, people really are altruistic, you know, at their heart. So if you can also position that connection and that content of like, hey, I know that you're ahead of me in your career, and I'm also here to learn from you, not just to get something from you.
So, well, we just spent 60 minutes together, and from my point of view, of course, I might be biased, but I believe it was super valuable discussion. Please let me know in the comments, what do you think? Was it valuable for you? Was it insightful? Just share with us. And keep in mind, it wasn't webinar. I know lots of people tend to think it wasn't webinar. It's just our full funnel marketing podcast. And now I'm doing it with you, with the community. I love when people are coming and asking the questions. And while you are sharing your feedback, I will make a quick announcement. So just in the mid of September, we'll be launching the second edition of our Full Funnel Summit, and Tara is one of the speakers, so stay tuned. It will be free for everybody. It's a free virtual event. All the sessions will be live, so you can join the discussion. And yeah, that would be, let's say, closer to the webinar. So stay tuned. I hope you'll join us. Yeah, and thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for your feedback. Appreciate it. So just for you, we'll pause our podcast for 1 month because lots of people are taking vacations in August, and we'll renew it in September. So thanks a lot for attending us, and thanks a lot for your feedback, guys. Again, if you are listening to the recording, you'll find the links to the resources we mentioned in the podcast description. And for those who attended this live, just wait for a couple of days. I will send you some great resources that Tara is working on right now. Cheers.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.